try this again.
At some point, you probably stumbled upon the
I
word
skipped the first,
patriarchy.
for the record, I skipped the first part of this because there's some ladies who seem to enjoy showing off their assets in some of it. I think there's some picture of the whatever podcast and some lady being interviewed. So, like I don't have enough crap in my head. Here we go. Yeah. Breaking down patriarchy. How does the patriarchy affect us today? That's the ladies' channel. So I want to see if I can review this.
Maybe at school, maybe at church, maybe in your social media feed after the Barbie movie, or at a Thanksgiving dinner that got a little awkward. Regardless of where you first heard the word patriarchy, I'm going to take you on a journey today to discover the origins of patriarchy and how it still affects our lives today. I'm Amy McPhee-Allabest. My journey to
That's probably... It's a rather strange last name, actually. But yeah. Let's see. She actually gives off kind of matronly vibes, which makes me want to like her, but what she's saying kind of makes me really want not to agree with her. So.
Patriarchy began during my master's program at Stanford. We were learning about the foundations of philosophy and art and politics and every era of time. Men were on the top of all the social hierarchies. I wanted to know how...
Yeah, sorry, I think there was a picture of someone's boobs in there anyways, so hopefully I skipped that part. So she's not actually, I think, wrong about this part in particularly, but I think her interpretation is wrong. It seems like, yes, for most of history, men held the predominant political roles, but I think there was probably a good reason for that, in that most of these political roles would have entailed danger of some sort, right? It wasn't until kings would come along, well, and even kings would sometimes go out to battle, but with regards to hunting or fighting or anything like that, all of the roles that would involve violence and stuff like that, men would be almost invariably better suited to them. And in roles where it wasn't just danger involved, but that potential death was on the table, with regards to that, men in the social kind of system we have are, or at least were, more expendable, right? Given that women were more closely connected to the rearing of children and everything that goes along with that. Yeah, if someone has to die, men have to die, right? And with regards to population growth, obviously there's kind of a hard cap with regards to how many women you have. Sad but true. Anyways.
Why that happened. These questions led me to read literally hundreds
I think it does exist, but it's not as nefarious as you might think.
Of books and talk with experts all around the world. I've learned fascinating, life-changing information. As I share my research with other people, the two things I hear most often are, why didn't I learn this in school? And how can I learn this now without having to read all of those books? So this video series will provide the TLDR for my research. We'll dive...
This makes me sound old, but I don't actually know what TLDR means. I should look it up sometime.
Deep into patriarchy's origin.
And this might just be my perception, but it feels like she borders on condescending and jumps straight into it at other times, but I guess enough poison in the well.
Trace its development all the way through modern times. This way you'll be able to understand the historical facts and be able to talk about it more comfortably and confidently when it comes up in conversations. So whether you're a staunch defender of patriarchy, a fierce critic, or simply curious, stay with us as we unpack the huge questions. What is patriarchy? How has it shaped our world? And how does it continue to affect us today? Before we start, I want to establish two important points.
Yeah. I guess, to my mind, in present-day culture, the whole notion of, how the patriarchy works seems too similar to the notion of, systemic racism, in that it's this kind of vague, it's there, but you can't see it because you're not perceptive enough. You have to listen to us and trust us to tell you that you are, in fact, misogynistic, and that, in fact, society is ordered against the success of women and such. I don't know, it feels like you're fighting ghosts.
First of all, I talk about patriarchy with love and compassion for people. And that means the whole human family, including boys and men. My favorite people in the whole wide world are my husband and our four
See, condescending.
children.
Maybe that's
And
just
we want
me.
a world that is fair and allows all of them to thrive, our daughters and our sons. So whoever you are, regardless of your gender, I will be addressing you with kindness and respect.
I will not be addressing you with kindness and respect.
You're not only welcome here, you're needed in these
You are not welcome here, and you are not. I'm sorry.
Conversations. Second, I talk about patriarchy with precision. Have you ever
There it just sounds like she's kind of blowing her own horn. Anyways.
had a conversation where both of you just talked past each other and ended up feeling frustrated and misunderstood? I have. And a lot of times that happens because people lack a common vocabulary. If when I say
that is actually true. A lot of times, if you don't distinguish with regards to like terms that might be equivocated in a conversation, you both end up arguing about a thing that you don't really need to be arguing about, and not really, no one wins.
patriarchy
So
and
it's best to do like if you think a term might be a little bit vague, try to distinguish or draw distinctions when it comes to exactly what a person means.
the Taliban. And when you say patriarchy, you're picturing your sweet, gentle grandpa. It's likely that we're going to misunderstand each other and we won't be able to have a productive conversation. If only there was some sort of book or online reference that we could all go to for a common definition of what words mean. Oh, wait. The dictionary definitions of patriarchy are a system of.
See, this is a thing that, like, yes, dictionary definitions are kind of a little bit of an authority, but I also think that words mean what people use them to mean in conversation. As a general rule, like in a normal everyday conversation, we play kind of fast and loose with definitions, and we're trying to communicate a lot of information over a short period of time. So, like, it maybe doesn't pay to be too pedantic with like what exactly a person's saying, as long as you get the general message. Now, there are scenarios like judicial proceedings or medical proceedings or something like that where you'd want to be quite specific with what you're talking about, because in that scenario, literally, the details can be very, very important. But, anyways, be that as it may.
Society or government in which the father or eldest male is head of the family and descent is traced through the male line, and a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded.
See, I think this is pretty much the one all of us would be thinking of if someone said, down with the patriarchy or blah 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 blah. I think very few of us would think of like a more archaic definition like this. I wouldn't even have necessarily known what this was. Put it this way, I think it would have come to mind when I was thinking about the term patriarchy.
Now let's go to the etymology, which means the roots of the word. Patri comes from the Greek and then the Latin pater, which means father. And arche comes from the Greek arche, which means domination, authority, or sovereignty. So literally, patriarchy means father rule. Just like monarchy or monarchy means one person ruling, and anarchy or anarchy means nobody ruling. Patriarchy means father rule, and it's expanded to mean men ruling over women. The way that
See, I feel like that's an oversimplification, and it feels a little bit demeaning to women to just kind of generalize history in that sense. I would have grown up and still do live largely in a very patriarchal type of community. But while it may be true that men are kind of the ramrods, they get the final say, they have the authority, women get what they want a lot of the time. Like, I tend to think that the Lady Macbeth archetype is not just a story. That there are women who are legitimately like that, and saying that okay, I'll maybe finish up on it.
When a baby is born and someone says it's a boy,
or once I get to
that
the part
baby
where I want to stop.
inherits elevated status in relation to women that will.
Again, that's what I was talking about. Kind of elevated status. It feels like the same type of language that goes into systemic racism. You're saying, yes, you have this kind of vague type of advantage, and you're just supposed to assume that you have an advantage.
Persist throughout its life just by virtue of being male. This little boy might grow up in a culture of misogyny, which in Greek means hatred of women. He might learn that men have to be in charge of women because women are inferior and untrustworthy, and so they need to be controlled. Another little boy might grow up in a culture
Based.
of benevolent patriarchy. He might learn that men need to be in charge of women because women are weak and delicate and need to be protected.
Also based.
Misogynistic patriarchy and benevolent patriarchy come from very different beliefs and
That's probably an important distinction to make. There is a difference there. What was I? I think we're gonna stop there. She does go on for a while. What patriarchy doesn't mean, residual effects of patriarchy, common misconceptions, stuff like that. Back to what I was saying. The whole notion that, I guess my perception of patriarchy would be that yes, in history, for obvious reasons, men were in the positions of political power. But just because men were in the positions of obvious and maybe direct power does not mean that women had no control over what went on, even indirectly. And it feels a little bit demeaning to women to say that, oh, yeah, society was made by men and it was made for men and women didn't have any control. Like, I feel like women are clever. They're cleverer than that. And I think women did have something to do with the way stuff went in history and the way countries were formed and perhaps even the way wars were fought. Right? Behind every great man, there's a woman. um, yeah. So again, I think the patriarchy probably does or did exist in history. I don't think it was nearly as. I guess I don't think it's that shocking or nefarious that it did exist. In that men were the ones who held the direct power. It's kind of logical. Um, and these days, I guess I question to what extent men have an advantage over women. Seems like yeah, this talk of kind of just an elevated status, I guess is what she said. Seems kind of eh. Anyways, thanks for watching. By the way, if there's trouble with the audio, let me know in the comment sections. I will try to keep an eye on that. But I had been watching it and doing a whole bunch of tests on my Twitch thing, so hopefully that's all relatively okay. All right, thanks for watching. If you like the video, please press the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment if you want to.